So I'm extremely excited to be introducing our first guest speaker for today. Jeremy is in a business that he has founded that has helped hundreds of thousands of people get in better shape, heal their bodies, and have a lot more fun. Most of all, Jeremy loves helping people live the good life in every way possible. Please help me give a warm welcome to my good friend and colleague, Jeremy Hendon. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'll give you you're in control.
All right. So back in 2009, I went to Dragon Con for the first time. And for those of you who don't know what Dragon Con is a fantasy and science fiction convention. It's held in Atlanta. Every single year, there are about 60,000 people. And they have everything from talks on Game of Thrones to Star Wars to everything that you can imagine. They have role playing, they have board games. That's where you usually find me. But the first thing you notice when you walk in to Dragon Con is that everybody, 60,000 people, are dressed in costumes. And these are not normal Halloween costumes. These are costumes that look real. I walked up to one guy. He looked so much like Iron Man. I thought he could shoot lasers out of his palm. And then his two little kids walked up. They were this high. They were in Iron Man outfits. They looked amazing. But here's the other thing. Back in 2009, I was practicing law at a big law firm in New York City. I was working too much. I was stressed. I was burnt out. I was not happy. I wasn't healthy because I wasn't sleeping enough. I wasn't eating well. And I just felt really bad. I wasn't really that happy with my life. However, within about 20 minutes of walking into Dragon Con, I started feeling different. I started feeling lighter. And I started feeling better and more optimistic. I felt healthier, if that makes any sense, and I just felt happier. And so I looked around. I looked at the 60,000 people who were at Dragon Con, and everybody was having this experience. And this is not a healthy place. There's a lot of beer drinking, a lot of pizza eating. Not the healthiest crowd, but everybody was awake, was energetic, was having a really good time, and just looked good. And was so different from what I saw every day taking the subway to New York, to work in New York. And I thought, what is this? Why do I not have this every day in my life? Why do people not have this more? So let me ask you a couple questions. How many of you came here this weekend hoping to learn more about how to live longer? All right, great. And how many of you would love to hear information about how to de-stress and be happier? All right, so one more question. How many of you would like to know how to have more and better sex? Hey, don't be shy. She won't mind. It's fine. So listen, you can have all of that and more. You can reverse aging. You can literally turn back the clock. You can de-stress completely. I'm talking about 100%. You can be more successful in pretty much every area of your life, including hobbies, business, career. You can improve every relationship, your family, your coworkers. You can be way happier, and you can change everything about your life. And it's all relatively easy to do. Here's how you do it. Play. Now, wait. I know what you're thinking. Play, that's not very exciting. You wanted some secret little tip or trick, right? You thought maybe it was resveratrol or acai or maybe even a pyramid that you can wear on your head. Listen, seriously, it's not any of that. And here's why. Because I am sick and tired of little tips and tricks, and I think you are too. I think you're tired of trying so hard in so many areas of your life and getting results that you're disappointed with constantly. And I think that you come to a conference like this that Dr. Gala puts on because you want to make a massive change and shift in your life. I think you want to set an example for yourself, for your family, and for everybody around you. And you can do all of that. That's why in the rest of this talk and the time that I have left, I'm going to show you exactly why you should play more, why it's huge, why it's one of those really big differences, and exactly how to do it. So before I jump in, let me just say, this is not just abstract theory. I'm going to tell you some studies and show you some things, but over the past few years, my life has looked amazing. I have an amazing, beautiful wife. I have a business that supports me. We travel around the world. We have tons of friends. We have a lot of great food. But even so, there are a lot of times over the past few years where I felt sad, I felt depressed, I felt like my life just wasn't going the way it should be. I felt anxious. And the more I open up about this, the more I share it with people, with my friends, with strangers even, the more I find that this is becoming the rule rather than the exception. Everybody, no matter how successful or happy they look, often deals with a lot of these things. But for me and for a lot of my friends, play is not only the most effective way that we've found to deal with this, both in research and in our own lives, but it's also the only way really that we found to consistently deal with it. And so I try to implement it into every part of my life on a daily basis. This is me in the desert in northwestern India playing cricket with a boy whose family we were staying with. This is me on a mountain in northern Thailand where I was handing out toys and food. Don't look at the food, it's really bad, unhealthy food. But we're handing out toys and food to the kids. This was a kid who played so hard that day, who laughed so much that it really made me stop and ask myself, what am I doing with my life? So here's the question, what is play? And I'm gonna give you two answers, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Here's the first answer. This is what researchers say. It's gotta be voluntary, intrinsically motivated, not by external rewards. It's got to have some rules, but still allow room for creativity, and it's gotta be alert and non-stressed. I don't care if you remember a word of that. It just doesn't matter. Because here's the second answer. You know when you're playing. As humans, you know when you see play and you know when you're playing because you're focused on the moment. You know in your gut if you're playing, and that's something you can trust. But what you can't trust is this. Play is way, way, way more important than you think it is. And every day of your life, your brain is going to tell you that you've got too many responsibilities, you've got work, you've got things to do, you've got errands to run, and that you don't have time for play. In fact, as a society, that's what we've been telling ourselves for the past few decades. It's part of the reason why our schools often have no more arts programs, no more music programs, no more physical education, because we tell our kids that they need to work harder and play less. It's part of the reason why over the past 50 years, playtime for kids and adults has decreased 71%. I mean, what are we doing? 71%. We're not having enough fun. So that's a terrible thing because there are a lot of benefits of play, and I want to run through a few of them today, just very quickly. First of all, stress. How many of you are stressed in your daily life? Yeah, a lot of you, and those just the honest ones. They're all stressed. Everybody feels stressed. Play is not only the best way, it's the primary way that as a human you deal with stress. When you're playing, first of all, it's impossible to be stressed because you're completely in the moment. You're not thinking about the future, you're not thinking about the past. However, after you play, what happens is that your brain also deals better with situations as they come up. In fact, evolutionarily, that's the psychological reason that humans and other animals play. It creates a safe environment for us to learn how to deal with uncertainty so that in your real life, quote unquote real life, you can deal with that uncertainty better. Here's another one, and I can't emphasize this enough. Play is the number one way that you learn to regulate and control your emotions. That's everything from anger to frustration to sadness to despair, anything that you can imagine. It's the number one way that you learn to deal with it. And that's huge. It's huge for your relationships, and it's huge for two really big reasons. First of all, happiness. Now, most of you probably think, most people do, that if you had fewer negative experiences, if you had fewer negative emotions, you would be happier. It can't be further from the truth. They've done study after study after study on this. The people who are happiest are not the people who have the fewest negative emotional experiences. They're the people who have the most positive ones most frequently. And you know how you do that? You play. That's how you get these positive experiences, and that's what leads to true happiness in your life on an ongoing, consistent basis. Here's another big one, health. This is a really interesting study, actually. Researchers took a group of people who had open heart surgery in the hospital, and they wanted to figure out what was the biggest factor that determined whether or not these people would have to come back into the hospital, have more surgery, or have complications that would require more work at the hospital. And so they looked at everything. It wasn't nutrition or what they ate. It wasn't how much they worked out. It wasn't even their prognosis when they left the hospital. It was how many positive emotional experiences they had in the few weeks after they left the hospital that was most indicative of whether or not they would have to come back to the hospital. That's how powerful it is. And there's another study I reference here. They actually tracked a group of nuns, different study, for 70 years, about 80 years ago now. These nuns recorded diaries, journals, a lot about how they played and their experiences when they were younger. They tracked them into the 90s and the 2000s, and what they found is the nuns who lived the longest and who were the healthiest into old age were the nuns who had the most play, the most positive experiences, the most laughter, the most fun when they were younger and when they were older. So this is huge for your health. There are a lot of other benefits, success, relationships, sexual attractiveness. It's actually true. If you play, you develop characteristics like having good sense of humor, thinking outside of the box that we as humans find sexually attractive. It's been proven over and over again. Here's the point. play is incredibly, incredibly important. It's not going to solve 100% of your problems. In fact, there are a lot of people in the world who don't play. Stuart Brown's one of the foremost researchers of play, and he actually did a study on the Texas prison system. He found that 90% or more of homicidal inmates had severe play deprivation. They just didn't play enough. So I'm not saying you're going to become a murderer if you don't play, but you're not keeping the best company. So play is incredibly, incredibly important. And the more you play and the more you can make everything in your life play, the better off you'll be. After hearing all of that, how many of you feel like you could use a little or a lot more play in your life? All right. Well, let's talk very quickly about how to do it. So the first thing that you've got to understand is that you are probably not very good at playing because you probably are out of practice. Most of us are. So the first thing you got to do is figure out what kind of play do you like? And the easiest way to do that is to think back to your childhood. Some researchers say that we have sort of play personalities. Some people like creating things like artists. Some people prefer moving around like athletes or dancers. Some people like collecting things. Some people like being jokesters and playing practical jokes. Remember what you like doing, try to figure it out, and then go out and experiment. And here are the 3 ways that I suggest that you experiment. First of all, kids. Now, don't go out to a park and just play with random kids. You'll get arrested. That's not the best publicity for the Longevity Summit. But if you have access to kids, grandkids, nieces and nephews, spend time with them, let go, lose track of time, and actually allow them to teach you how to play again because they are amazing teachers. They haven't forgotten. They don't forget as humans until we beat it out of them. Animals. This is one of our dogs, Karma. Look at that game face. Who wouldn't want to play with that? That's me running with them. Animals always play. They're very easy. It's one of the reasons why so many studies show that pet owners and people who spend a lot of time around animals are so much healthier and live longer is because they play a lot with them. Games. I'm a huge board game fan. You don't have to play board games, but if you like them, you can play any other sort of game. You can join a bowling league. You can do anything else. The point is this. Play is not an escape from reality as we often think. Play is actually creating your reality. That's what it does psychologically. So a little girl who sits at a table with nobody else present and has a tea party, that is no less real than your bills that you think you need to pay or any other stress in your life. It's all about the story you tell yourself. And when you walk out of here today, you may not be able to immediately integrate play into every aspect of your life, but that's okay. It's going to take a little bit of effort. Thing is, every moment of every day that you play, you get healthier, you get happier, and you get that much closer to truly living a life you love. Thank you.
Awesome. I think we're actually caught up. So we're going to open it up for 2 questions. If you have 2, we'll open up for 2 questions for Jeremy. So anyone have any questions? Over here. So can we get a mic runner over there?
Does playing music include, is that playing when you have fun playing music?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so what I said earlier about you knowing if you're playing is really true. So for instance, golf could be play or it could not be. It's not necessarily the activity because a lot of people go out and have fun playing golf and then a lot of people don't. A lot of people, it's just about being serious or maybe it's even about getting clients for something. And music could be the same way. If you're just always necessarily like trying to improve or trying to impress somebody, maybe it's not play. But for the most part, music's usually going to be play for most people. It's what you know. I mean, you know if you're losing track, if you're focused on the moment, you know if it's play.
Question over here in the back, right there.
Yeah, I just want to be clear on something that you had on one of your slides.
Yeah.
So more saliva is a sign of anti-stress?
So I skipped over that point. What no. I guess I should have explained it instead of just leaving it on the slide. What it actually said is that when you play, your body produces more salivary immunoglobulin A, which is an anti-stress marker that also allows your body to be less stressed. It's also one of your body's first lines of defense against illness, like bacteria coming into your mouth. And so that's an effect of playing on your body to make it less stressed and also just to protect your body more. So it's healthy in that way. It's not that you have more saliva, so you produce more of that protein in your saliva.
I don't know, what about your dog? What is it? Maybe your dog did, I don't know.
Yeah, well, the dogs definitely produce a lot of saliva.
So because we have Dr. Hoagie's parents in the house, we'll have one more question. Don?
Okay. I'm a car nut, and I like to restore old cars, and I find that part of my playtime. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy driving them as well. But I'm finding that as I get older, find it harder to do this because my time is taken up by other things. I think, I'm retired. I shouldn't have to do this. I should be out there having fun. So I would encourage you all to look at that playtime in your retirement years, especially, as you need to do it. Don't think that your priorities have to change because you have to obligate yourself to other things. Make sure you take time for yourself and for your grandkids. We have one 3 years old and one 6 months old. And we do enjoy playing with them a lot.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again, man.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, one of the things when it comes to retirement, one of my coaches that I work with, he talks about, he works with entrepreneurs, business owners, all walks of life. And one of the things that he says is he'll talk to people that are in their, let's say their 50s or their 60s, that maybe have done really well in their career and then they've sold their business. And he tells people, and he's one of he's in his 70s, actually he's 71 now. And when I work with him, he actually has a 25-year plan for his business. So he's 70 years old and he has a 25-year plan that he maps out. And he has everyone that he works with, they map out their 25-year goals. And that's actually where the longevity scorecard came from. Because he said he only works with people that have a certain mindset. So he actually scores people before he even allows them to come into one of his coaching programs that I'm part of. And one of the things that he tells these people is that when he saw people that have been successful and then they use the word retirement, he almost doesn't look at that as necessarily a bad word, but sort of. I mean, a lot of times when people retire, they start going downhill. And there's a lot of research to show that when people retire, that life expectancy shortens dramatically because they're not mentally and intellectually and emotionally engaged in something in life, and typically something that's bigger than them. So I would encourage you that whatever you're doing, that find something that you're emotionally engaged in and that you enjoy in life, that's something that's bigger than you. And like Jeremy was saying, something that lifts you up and you can have fun with. Because being part of something that's bigger than you, and obviously that can have a lot of different meanings for you, and you need to identify that for yourself, but it can be so uplifting to be part of something, whether it's even part of something like this, or maybe you even want to help be a volunteer next year. I don't know, but think of something in your life that's fun and engaging and start embracing that. Because engaging in life, as soon as you check out, you start going downhill. And so my coach, Dan Sullivan, what he talks about is he says people that have, let's say, reached the height of their career, and then let's say they sell their business or they retire. He says that if they don't do something within the next year that gets them back up kind of on step on something that they're involved in, he finds that what they think is that they think that their life or their success in their career or their business was a fluke, and they actually can go into some depression and they can actually start, their health dramatically declines. So after the people retire, I would encourage you to, have some fun and maybe just kind of let loose a little bit, but be aware that it's good to find something you can plug into. I'm not saying 8 hours a day for a whole week, but even if it's a couple hours a day volunteering somewhere or being part of an organization or getting a part-time job doing something that you really genuinely enjoy is important. How do you play when you have to do all these other work or life things? Try to figure out ways to engage and make fun part of your daily routine. So there's ways to be creative, and I don't have any kids, so I can't say it, but I know what my mom did for us is she would make it fun. So like growing up, my brother and I, we would have plants that we had to water, that we had to take care of. And so every day we'd go out and say, okay, so let's go out and check your plants and let's see how we're doing. And we would name them or whatever we would do. When my mom would brush our teeth, it'd be Germs, Petey, and Mom, what was the other one? Petey and who? Petey and Charlie. So when we brushed the teeth, my mom would go through and she'd be brushing our teeth because what kid likes to have their teeth brushed, right? She'd go through and Petey and Charlie, oh no, hold on Petey, hold on Charlie, oh no, down the drain, there they go. So you can have fun with what you're doing. So we loved brushing our teeth because we loved spitting out Petey and Charlie. So have fun, weave it into your life as best you can and look for ways to do that. How many people feel good right now after just talking about playing? All right, awesome. Let's give another round of applause to Jeremy for that was a wonderful talk.